I want you guys to think of the most disappointing thing that has happened in Final Fantasy history. I'm gonna let you think about that for a few seconds. Now, I'm sure you guys will probably say Final Fantasy II or Mystic Quest or 8 if you're a very old person like myself, or you would probably say 13 or 15 because a lot of people were actually disappointed in those games, especially 13 or 15. But no, those are not the games that really disappoint me, in my opinion. That's not the most disappointing thing. No. The reason why I'm asking this question, the reason why we're talking about this now, is because there is a game that is coming out in the Dragon Ball series. I just saw the teaser for Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi 4. That game is actually coming out. The 4th installment. That game was like not continued after like what, 20 years? Not really sure when the last one came out. Budokai Tenkaichi 3, I think. That game has not seen the light of day for a long time, and now they're coming out with a 4th one just out of nowhere, and it blows my mind. Now, I started thinking about Budokai Tenkaichi, and, you know, I understand what that game is. I've played that game quite a bit when I was back in college, I think, but it's an arena-style fighting game where you're powering up, you're one of the Dragon Ball fighters, and it's just magnificent. It's fun, not sure it's very competitive, but it was just really fun. It also reminded me of another game, which was Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, and that game was amazing. I think it's coming out with a collection, maybe? I'm not too sure. I think it's coming out with a collection, that or it's coming out with a new game. I think it's a collection. I'm not too sure. I'm not really willing to search it right now, but something new is coming out with that too, okay? It has Boruto in it. No, see, like, I play a lot of fighting games. I've played Street Fighter, Guilty Gear, Soul Calibur, Mortal Kombat. I'm trying to get into Tekken, and that's hard, but you know, that it is what it is with Tekken. It's hard to get into if you're actually new, but you gotta take your time. I have learned that I have to take my time with that game. I play a whole slew of fighting games, but the reason why I'm talking about this, the reason why I'm talking about arena-style fighting games, is because Final Fantasy had an arena-style fighting game. You guys know it. You guys know I'm going to complain about it because of how it ended. Dissidia Final Fantasy. For those of you who don't know what Dissidia is, it was an old PSP title that you got to play as like the solid main characters for all the Final Fantasy series up to 10 and, well, 11 or 12 because of Dissidia Duodecim. No, actually Shintoto was in Dissidia Final Fantasy along with Gabranth, who was in 12. So in the original Final Fantasy, up to 12. Duodecim extended the roster a little bit, but it was also a refined game of Dissidia Final Fantasy. You walked around on this map in story mode. There was a good story and some good cutscenes for the PSP quality. It was still PSP quality, but a lot of the fights, like the intros, was cool. The outro, the ending was just so, it was so. Oh, it felt good, you know, when you beat that game, when you saw the Warrior of Light walking towards Castle Cornelia and you just figured out, oh shit, wait a minute, is he the warrior from the original Final Fantasy 1 party? Holy crap. And they kind of double confirmed this, I guess, in Stranger of Paradise. I don't know, that game confuses me. Anyway, I digress. Dissidia Final Fantasy was an amazing fighting game. It was an arena style, full of fun game that I wish they just brought that to the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation 5. Now, they tried to get that onto a console. They tried, because over in Japan, lo and behold, they had an arcade version of the game. It was a 3v3 kind of thing. Go to the arcade, you play with like 2 other people, you whoop ass against the person who's on the other side, right? It had good gravity, good fighting. They took a lot of the skills out of it because they wanted like the characters have, you know, staple moves to use. Honestly, they could have gone with the element that they have in Dissidia where you could switch some moves out, you know, make sure the characters are always kind of unique when you go through it. I wish they would have just made more abilities, but I digress again. Dissidia Final Fantasy for the arcade looked very interesting, and a bunch of us who were fans wanted that to come out to the States. Lo and behold, that was one of the biggest mistakes we ever wished for, because they did bring it out, and it was not very good, to say the least. So they brought it to the States on the PlayStation 4, I'm not sure the PlayStation 3, no, just PlayStation 4, and it was called Dissidia NT. Don't know what the NT stood for, I don't remember, but it came out on console. One of the biggest things on the console version was the fact that it was always going to be online. It was always online, and you couldn't play a single match without 2 other people playing. Now, I don't know if you guys are fighting game enthusiasts or have been playing fighting games for a while. I've played fighting games pretty much my whole life. I'm pretty good at Smash Brothers, Street Fighters, Mortal Kombat, and all that stuff, but the thing is, when you look at those games and you see like a competitive setting for that, it's usually 1v1, unless it's Super Smash Brothers, then it's like 2v2 or a free-for-all. But in this case, it's 3v3 in Dissidia NT, and you had to work with your team who you could not communicate with. You could not communicate with at all, and they always went off to Kansas. They always tried to pile up on one guy. A lot of people just did a bunch of stupid crap, and it was just annoying and not fun. If you got higher in the ranks like I did, I made it all the way up to Crystal, you start getting a lot of competent people, and the game starts being fun. But at that point, the game was dying, and it was just falling off. Like, they turned it into a free-to-play game, and it still did not work. Nobody wanted to touch Dissidia NT because it sucked. Not only that, a lot of people weren't really getting with the way it was fighting, how the moves were set up. A lot of people didn't feel like this was the Dissidia that they wanted. There was a lot of gravity changes. There was some character changes just as well. Like, a lot of Sephiroth's moves. Sephiroth was one of my favorite characters to play as. Like, he had a move that allowed him to just go to somebody, just dash through somebody, and they get hit 12 times and they just fall to the ground. They don't have that anymore. A lot of Sephiroth's moves are pretty just heavy, and he gets taken advantage of because of how slow he is. And compare that to the Dissidia version, Dissidia Duodecim version of Sephiroth. It was just like night and day. So people were, walking in new territory. And it's not just that. The one-player aspect of Dissidia NT was pretty bad. The story was pretty bad. The boss fights, you had to fight the summons, was pretty bad. The rewards going through the game felt like it didn't feel like a good enough reward. They tried to make sure that you go ahead and, I guess, get these little crystal thingies, these little crystariums. I don't remember, but you use them to buy more music and alternate colors and costumes for said characters, and it was a headache. It was more of a headache. It was more annoying, and I tried my best to have fun in that game. In fact, a whole bunch of people, not a lot, but a whole bunch of people tried to have fun in Dissidia NT. It just did not work. The abilities did not work. The gameplay did not work, especially the 3v3 aspect. This is not what people wanted. We wanted a 1v1 experience like we did in the PSP titles, and they didn't give it to us. They gave us this arcade port that had no amount of real work added into it. It was a lazy port, I would say. Some of you guys who are Dissidia enthusiasts may say like, oh no, you're being a little harsh. It's the truth. Tell me you did not want a 1v1 with you seeing 2 people next to each other in the trailers. You saw that, right? We're thinking like, oh, so we get 2 CPUs now that we can extend our combos with, just like how we did in Dissidia Duodecim, right? That's what you were thinking. I know you were thinking that. But no, we didn't get that. We didn't get that at all. What we got was kind of a lot of lazy BS, and eventually the game just died. They really didn't do a good job. Just its own fresh, original Dissidia game. That's all we wanted, was an original Dissidia game. I mean, it was original Dissidia game, but it was an arcade port. We wanted an original one. That's what we wanted, not some arcade port. To me, that is the most disappointing thing for me in Final Fantasy history. Anything involving Final Fantasy, that is the most disappointing thing. Because I would be here right now still playing that Final Fantasy fighting game that I wish was sitting up there with like Evo staff, going to Evo and you see, oh crap, it's Dissidia, man, I need to really get good on that. They had a ranking system and everything. I got up to like the highest rung. I spent hundreds of hours in Dissidia NT trying to make that game fun. But ultimately, it died. And it could have been so much more if it was just its own original game. So tell me what you guys think. If you like what you've heard today, please consider subscribing to the channel. Please consider hitting the like button. Don't forget to hit the bell, because YouTube is doing this thing. They always do this thing where they don't want to show you videos from the people who you subscribe to, so it's kind of weird. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Leave in the comments what you think about all this. What is the most disappointing Final Fantasy thing that you guys have gone through? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.